Welcome to Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money.
Good morning, good afternoon. It is Fly Nubian Money, where we help you to master your mindset and maximize your money. Today, we're talking about performative diversity and corporate hypocrisy. Wells Fargo has agreed to pay $85 million after being accused of conducting fake interviews with Black candidates just to make their diversity numbers look better. I'm going to say that again. They out here lying. They out here getting people to come in for interviews that they do not plan on hiring just to meet their diversity quota, to say we interview some Black folks. Today, we're going to talk about what this says about corporate America, how this type of behavior affects real progress, and what accountability should look like when companies get caught with their hand in the cookie jar. No, that's not what it says. Playing games with our livelihoods. We have dope queens to have this conversation today. We have Shalaye, CEO of Vital Source Realty, Aisha Verzi, financial services expert, and Dr. Alicia, whose title for today is Social Work Advocate for those who are oppressed and marginalized. Now, before we get into this conversation, this is not the first time that Wells Fargo has got caught with their hand in the cookie jar. Every couple of years, they get sued for something. Wells Fargo does. I'm gonna be like Kanye West. George Bush doesn't like Black people. Wells Fargo doesn't like Black people. They've been repeatedly sued and fined for discriminatory practices. Multiple lawsuits and settlements. Right now in 2025, it's for sham diversity interviews. In 2020, hiring discrimination. They were sued for $7.8 million for not paying Black people what they were supposed to be paid. In 2017, financial advisors lawsuit. Wells Fargo settled a class action lawsuit for nearly $36 million with a group of Black financial advisors. So they are consistently in the news for how they deal with us. In the chat, I want to know if you bank at Wells Fargo. Who is giving Wells Fargo their money? But before we get to the video, I'm going to go around the room and say, what were your thoughts when you heard this? That Wells Fargo is faking it. They out here having, I was going to give a Dr. Boyce reference, having fake sex with Black people, but that's not they out here pretending like they're going to hire you, but we have no intentions of hiring. What do you think about that, Shalaye, when you heard that as our title for the day?
I think it's just absolutely insane and ridiculous, but am I surprised? No. We're talking about a corporation. We're talking about a white corporation, an establishment corporation that goes back to the gold rush in California. I'm not surprised, but they should be out of business.
Out of business, she says. What about you, Dr. Alicia? You're out here fighting the good fight for the people. What do you think when you heard that? Or what did you think when you heard that?
Yeah, I mean, the conspiracy runs deep. And can you imagine how a network of people had to come together and deliberately look at Black candidates and have these fake interviews, all of the snickering and the laughing that was happening before and after they showed up? I mean, the ethics of hiring practices. I know people who work in HR, and anybody who works in HR in the chat or whatever, they're going to be like, oh yeah, they see all sorts of breaches of trust, betrayal of trust. And then we wonder why Black people walk around with this paranoia about these systems. And sometimes it's right. It's a healthy paranoia. So let's not diagnose the victims here. Let's look at the whole entire system and where they fit in that, for sure.
But even that, if it's true, it's not even really paranoia.
No, it's not.
we're
It's
looking at these
healthy paranoia.
Exactly. Healthy paranoia. We call it conspiracy theories, but they're not necessarily conspiracy theories. It's pulling the veil over the stuff that's happening to us, but people don't believe it and they don't think it's real until it's like, oh, check this out. Look at what they're doing. Then it's like, oh. But to your point, the conversations that had to happen. How do you sit and talk to somebody and say, hey, this is what we're going to do? We're just going to interview them, but we're not going to really hire them. And then you have to tell somebody, like, you got to go out here and talk to somebody. I want to know if it was Black people doing it, but that's a whole nother topic. Aisha, what were your thoughts when you heard this conversation?
Yeah, when I heard it, I am like on the fence in a way, not because they're not doing what they did, like they've been, penalized in the past. Just thinking, how would anybody just do that overtly, like really do that? It's going to be bad for your company. Why would you do that? That's where I stand. Like, why would you deliberately do that and think it could be okay? So I'm like, somebody dropped the ball somewhere. It's either maybe a particular branch has that kind of thought process.
No.
Doing that, like, wow.
I can't believe it's just one branch. But let's watch the video before we go any further. I can't believe that it's just one branch. When the root is bad, the tree is bad. It starts at for the sake of that reference, it starts in the root. But for the sake of business, it starts at the top. Let's go to our first video, and we're going to keep having this conversation.
So Wells Fargo, it was announced today they were sued for $85 million for basically bringing in people for diversity practices for the interviews, knowing that they had absolutely no intention of hiring that person because the position was either filled or they just took a look at you and they weren't interested. This actually happened to me at an interview at Wells Fargo. I spoke to them. I had a phone interview at first. They were so excited to meet me, see me. And then I came through the door 8 minutes into the interview. I kid you not, because remember the interview was at 12. At 12:08, I got an email from them saying, unfortunately, we've decided to move forward. I'm in the middle of the interview still answering questions. So I take my phone and I show it to the recruiter. I typically don't pay attention to my phone on interviews, but I had the LED notification. It was flashing, whatever, and my phone was face up, so I saw it. And when I saw it, I was like, oh, this has got to be a mistake. I showed it to her and she goes, oh, I thought it would have been a delayed response. I have interviewed for so many companies. I've never had anything like that happen to me before. I'm really just trying to figure out what in 8 minutes I could have said to automatically disqualify me, if not the color of my skin. Like, I understand people can come in interviews and blunder and be complete fools, but that is not the case. I have worked in a million different sectors. I've worked in education, I've worked in healthcare, I've had administrative roles, I've done customer service, I've done retail, you name it, and I've probably been in it with the exception of the military. I am qualified. I'm more than qualified to be a bank teller.
Okay, so Dr. Alicia, how does this kind of discrimination impact mental health? Like we're listening to her. She seems knowledgeable. She seems, like she has a good conversation, good history as far as work and job ethics go. Not ethics, but job history. I don't know her work ethics. But as I'm listening to her, she sounds kind of flat, a little bit deflated, right? Like, I can't believe this is going on. I can't believe this is happening. So what can something like this do for Black people around their mental health when it comes to looking for jobs?
I mean, think about how frustrating this is. Think about how it just brings you down. And I mean, we all know about the resume study where they have two identical resumes and they'll have like a Black sounding name on there.
I was just thinking, I wonder what her name was. Yes.
And then so these things have been documented. And I think the terrible part about it is that I remember being on the job market. It's exhausting. It's expensive. You have to get a suit. You got to get your hair done, at least for us. You have to carve out time, and all the time that it takes to prepare for this. You have to, and think about the privilege of white people, white privilege. They don't think about these things, because when Black people go on job interviews, they're thinking, is there anybody that looks like me? Are they going to like me for my resume and for what I have to say and how I articulate things? Or are they just going to be taking out their issues with Black women on me? Are they going to be, what is this? And these sort of systems, they uphold. This is what systematic racism is about. And I think the problem is that companies and corporations are suffering. When you don't celebrate diversity, you don't celebrate a diversity of ideas, it's not just a Black issue with Black people. It's the issue with being able to grow your company in a way where it meets the needs of its constituents. And so basically, you're better off as a company when you include diversity. And I'm not saying this based on my opinion. The bottom line says being racist is costly to the bottom line. So companies should want to embrace DEI. They should want to embrace that because it's better for everybody. Yeah.
I mean, so this took place before this current administration, right? This has been a long practice of Wells Fargo. This didn't just happen. And in the face of what's happening in DEI, right, with DEI being stripped back and reversed, and companies not having to, let's say, pursue being diverse. Shalaye, why do you think companies previously, right, use DEI for optics? Right. So if we think about what Dr. Alicia said, which is the bottom line says that when you're diverse, you make money, right? You have Black people in your banking environment. So when other Black people come in, they feel seen and heard. So hiring Black people so that when your customers come into the bank and see themselves reflected, then that makes them want to do business with you.
Yes.
So then why do you think a company would just utilize it for optics and say, we're DEI friendly, look at us, we're interviewing Black people, but we're not hiring them?
Because it's not really what they believe. They really do not believe that there should be a level playing field. They really do not believe that there should be equality in the workforce and in interviewing people for jobs. It goes back to the systemic belief system in that company, because if the belief system in that company was that we value different people, different opinions, different skill sets, then that would trickle down on every level and to every department. I don't know if this was a specific department that was doing it, a specific branch, but in order for them to even conspire to do that, they had to know that that was okay. Quotas equal money, right? So when you can give the impression that you're filling what it really is, filling a quota or hiring diversely, that equals people investing in your company, that equals different ethnic groups spending money with your company, that can equal sponsorships and things like that too. So quotas equal money, but it goes back to the systemic belief in that company. And obviously there's a problem there.
Absolutely. Aisha, what do you think? So, this is happening. I don't have the unemployment stats in front of me right now, but I know that for Black families, Black people, it's high, right? And so you have Black folks having to go out here and get a job. They have to go in, they have to interview, like Dr. Alicia saying, you got to get the suit, you got to drive, you got to pay for the resume paper, just all the things that it takes to get a job. And so how do you think that fake diversity harms the Black community? Because if you're unemployed and you're going into an interview believing that this job is available to you, so you're taking time away from another job that you could have been at because you're going to this one thinking, hey, I have an opportunity for this position, and it's not really there. How does this harm the Black community?
I think it's very demoralizing for anyone because it's almost like it's defeating. You know that you're going to spend all this time, and behind your mind, you know that it's just not going to happen for you. It's very demoralizing. Then the feeling is like you starts lack hope because you feel, then what am I going to do? Because I know if I go, I'm not going to get it. And then now that compounds your pain and frustration, because then I'm out there looking and trying and doing my best. I'm qualified, but I know if I go there, they're not going to hire me. And just because of the way I look or the way my name sounds. And I love what Dr. Alicia said. Diversity is very important, and it harms everybody. Unfortunately, it harms us more because we need money to pay for our kids' schooling or to pay for our rent and our food. But then we know that when we go out there, because everybody's looking for the same job, and now with my color and my name, it just compounds the problem. So it's almost like you feel, man, where's the hope here? And that's the sad part. I think it's unfortunate, but diversity is so important. And I don't know why people in their narrow-mindedness think that if they cut it to a particular group, that's better for them. It's so idiotic, but it happens. It does happen, but it does harm people a lot. It harms everybody. The family feels sad, and and you feel hurt by the whole situation. It's happened to me where, but something in me maybe not to accept that, right? In the past, where I was working so hard as a manager, doing everything I could. Even the staff knew that I was the best. They just knew. But then something opens up for a better position to go up. Somebody else shows up that doesn't look like me. And then they're all saying, wait a minute. Even the staff will say, what that? And then the person comes in, they have no clue what they're doing. They have no clue what they're doing. And then they ask me for help. Right. So we know this was happening. But even though I get in my car and I cry, I'm not going to lie, I cry saying, this is so sad. But I told myself that I'm not going to allow these people define me. I'll keep working until that happens. Yeah, it took me longer, but guess what? I got a position and I showed them the hell who I was. And till today, nobody could beat my record there. That's the point. That you refuse to allow them to until you get to that space. It took time, but I got there. Somebody saw and put me there. So I just refuse to accept their nonsense. But it does happen. It happened to me.
Well, thank you for sharing that. We're going to take a commercial break and we're going to come back and continue having this conversation.
Woo! It's a good show right here. But I'm biased. If you are just tuning in, you are watching Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money. My name is Tiara Williams. I'm also known as Miss Black Hollywood, and I'm the proud producer of this show because it is lit. If you want to receive notifications for when we go live Monday through Friday, 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All you have to do is text the word Queens to 87948. That's Queens to 87948. That's QUEENS to 87948. Also, if you want to grow your money and not blow your money, all you have to do is go to flynubianmoney.com. There's all kinds of resources, there's courses, there's free giveaways. There's just no reason to be broke in 2025. All you have to do is go to flynubianmoney.com. Obviously, you don't want to be entertained here. You want to know enough to grow. Wait, I need to put that on a shirt. You got to know to grow. Got to know to grow. So no.
Today, we're fighting the 21st century battle in civil rights, which is one of economic justice. And I believe just like Brown versus the Board of Education was the seminal civil rights case in the 20th century, we believe that this case for the bias and discriminatory actions of this big bank, this bank too big to fail, is a seminal case in the 21st century battle for civil rights.
Man, was that Crump? Does anybody know? That was Crump, huh? Yeah. That man gonna be somewhere where there's a camera and some money. Dr. Alicia, I saw in the back where you said you looked up the person's name who actually was the whistleblower. So I'll give you this question. What responsibility do you think that executives have when this happens under their watch? Because it's happening not just at Wells Fargo. We talked about that here. It's happening not just at Wells Fargo, not just in the banking industry, right? We could talk about mortgages and cars and like it's happening across the board. So this is not a Wells Fargo issue. They just keep getting caught over and over and over again. But how do you feel about executives who know that this is happening? It's happening on their watch. Some are participating, not saying nothing. Some are participating and they feel some kind of way about it, and they may or may not say nothing. But what do you think what responsibility lies on the executives in these companies?
Yeah, I mean, hats off to the individuals who did speak up. There were a lot of people, and I looked up their faces and names. Joe Bruno, let's give him a round of applause. He was a white boy that spoke up. And then when he started saying things, other people in the who had noticed it and may have been afraid to say something did say things. I know people who work in corporate, coming to my mind, And apparently, and y'all tell me if this is right, because I'm not a corporate girl anymore, but there's an entire website where you can put comments about what it's like to work for this company anonymously. And there are people who type in there, and I'm certain, I don't know the website, but I know this
Is that
exists.
Glassdoor? Is it Glass? I think
Is that what it's called?
It might be
Glassdoor? But
called
there are
Glassdoor. I'll look it up.
whistleblowers where people can learn. And I think the beauty of this is that Black people, you think it's you didn't get the job, you internalize it and think I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not articulate enough, I don't have the skills. Well, this should give you need to double check this, right? And then you also we need to do some social action. Let's pull our money out of that bank and put it into another bank. I mean, there's some things that we can do when some of this stuff starts coming out. And I just want to say one more thing as a social worker. There's a social worker who blew the whistle on the Tuskegee syphilis experiment. And his name is Peter Buxton. He's a white boy. He was a social worker. He saw what was happening and he kept trying to blow the whistle. New York Times wouldn't publish the story. And he went to every single news outlet and tried to talk about how unfair this was. And his name is Peter Buxton. And he was the person who shut down the Tuskegee syphilis story. So we need this whistleblower piece. We need people to speak up, allies to speak up. And it's sad because, probably was a lot of Black people who complained, and then we're just seen as complainers. And no one really pays attention until a white person takes their privilege and uses their privilege to speak up. But we appreciate it nonetheless. Sorry,
so,
I spoke
question.
too much.
No, thank you. Yes, because you want to make sure that allies, I think, is important. I think it's important to have. This is why it's important to have people at the table in the conversation. I know a lot of times we say it should be a Black person in the room at the table having a conversation, but I think sometimes it just needs to be a person of integrity in the room at the table having these conversations that says, hey, did you think about it this way? Did you cover that? And if there isn't anybody there, then just go tell somebody else. Let somebody else do it. You don't necessarily have to, go up against the powers that be. Just be like, hey, this is what they doing over here. Move your money. Don't do business with them. Something to that effect. Question. And I think this is a really good question. Shout out our producer for this one. The question is, do you think class or education protects Black candidates from bias? And I'm going to start with you, Shalaye. And one of the reasons, so what I do, most of you guys know, I'm a brand your brilliance strategist. And with branding your brilliance, I started out helping entrepreneurs because it's branding, right? And I got an executive who was like, yo, no, I need help with branding my brilliance in my company. Like, I want to get promoted. I want to move up. And so branding your brilliance is not really just for entrepreneurs. It's for anybody who has to say, I'm talented. I have a skill and I need you to know it. I need to brand myself you got to brand yourself personally. You got to brand yourself when you're dating. You got to brand yourself, in every piece of your life, you have to brand yourself. But when I think about the jobs that I have had and the opportunities that I have had, as far as corporate goes, I have gotten jobs that I probably shouldn't have gotten, and I'm Black. And a lot of that has come from class and education. How I speak, the whole white girl, the valley girl thing, like, because they would say, you speak so well. You speak so well. Like, am I speaking a different language? I don't understand, But I think that class and education has something to do with it, because in my opinion, talent beats racism every time. That's my opinion. What do you think, Shalaye? And the chat. What do y'all think in the chat? Does class, education, talent beat or protect Black candidates from biases? Go ahead, Shalaye.
That is a layered question, because I think that it depends. Okay. It depends on who you're in front of. It depends on who you're dealing with. It depends on what are their negativity biases or prejudices or their belief system. I think that it depends. I also, I definitely, everything that I've gotten, I believe that I should be there or have been there. Right. But I've definitely, I could say can turn on that palatability to where I think I can rock in any scenario. And I know that, I guess that's a perceived class thing. And, you know, so I think it depends. I think it depends. Education is very important. Education about what? Educated about the company, educated about their culture, educated about the job, because
The job.
I
I
can
would
tell you,
say so.
I can
When
tell you
I
right
think
now, a lot
about
of people get
education,
jobs and they get hired and they are not skilled to have that job, but sometimes they get it because they have an in or they know someone. So I think that it really just depends. I've been in situations where people should not have been on jobs and they were. I've had clients and I have friends and family members who should have gotten the job, like Aisha said, and they should have been promoted, and someone else with a different hue came in and got that job and they had to train that person. So I think that you have to read the room when you're in these situations and really do your research on the company and who, if you can, who's interviewing you, to try to figure out, if you can, what is it that they're looking for and how can you appeal to that if you want to work for them.
so I like
Unfortunately.
that Incog said, if that white interviewer sees you're more competent than him or her, it can work against you sometimes. In some ways, you're threatening. I'm an Ivy alum, so I've seen it hurt. I have very rarely not gotten a job that I have interviewed for. Very rarely. Like most jobs that if I sit in that room and I'm about to open my mouth and talk, it's a 90% chance I'm gonna get the job. But so I don't know. That one is a tricky one to me, just based on my own past experiences with jobs and things of that nature. So let's take a quick commercial. We're gonna come back, and Aisha, we'll keep going in this conversation.
I know you're busy, you got things to do, and you can't take us on the go with you every single day. Good news for you. We are now on Spotify. So if you can't watch us, now you can listen to us on Spotify. Search Fly Nubian Money and all the episodes shall appear. All you have to do is like, subscribe, leave a 5-star rating, leave some comments, tell people how you love us, so that when other people come along and are looking for a great show to watch, they can find Fly Nubian Money too. One last thing, and just in case you've been sitting under a rock, Fly Nubian Money now has an investment club. We are the Fly Nubian Money Club. It's easy. All you have to do is go to flynubianmoneyclub.com, and I am committed to bringing in top experts from all industries to help you level up. They're teaching us the skills that we need to compete in this market. We often say that nobody is coming to save us, not the government, but guess what? We're coming to save us. I'm coming to save you with the Fly Nubian Money Club. So listen, all you have to do again is go to flynubianmoneyclub.com. We have a 30-day free trial set up just for you, just for those people that are struggling. Even if you ain't struggling, you ain't got to struggle. I'm coming. Okay.
Y'all, the job market is absolutely atrocious. These companies have no integrity. And I really want to preach right now to really protect yourself from scams, from divulging information out of the need of needing a job. Does that make sense? I feel like, yes, there's a lot of ghost postings, but there's also just companies that are blatantly stealing people's information. And I really think that just happened to me with this process. I was in an interview process for a month long. I'm talking about 3 rounds of interviews. 3 rounds of interviews. Y'all may or may not remember my videos on this, but I really feel like I got scammed. I'm disgusted. I feel like I have encountered a company that went through a fake job interview with me with no intentions of hiring anybody for the job. And when I tell you they got information out of me that, number one, I very much value and would be confidential to anybody else. You know, I feel like my need for employment was exploited. And baby, you learn something new every freaking day. I'm going to be sharing more about this. I just am being careful about what I say because I'm exploring all my options. Okay, if you catch my drift.
You know what? She's not lying. I remember going on interviews and they do things like, so if there was a team and there's this problem on the team and we're looking to increase our such and such by this much, how would you solve that? You're in there just giving, telling them your whole marketing plan, your whole problem solving. I'm like, okay, so you would do that. Okay. And what if on this team, there was an employee who you'd be like, dang, that's specific.
Harvesting your talent.
Harvesting your talent. Alicia, not Aisha, my apologies. How do you think someone could tell the difference between a genuine interview and versus performative inclusion or harvesting talent, if you will?
I think it's hard. How can you tell? You can't tell. The sad thing is, like she just expressed, they ask you specific questions, give them specific answers, and they're taking notes. Then you're like, okay, why are you writing so much? Why aren't you just listening to me and talking to me? And you're taking all those notes, right? So maybe now we know that's a cue. They're taking a lot of notes on you, and it's like this extensive notes. And so I was speaking to you directly. Maybe that's a red flag for you to say, okay, are they going to hire me or not? But I think it's hard to tell. How do you know? You can't. Humans have a way of doing things, and you just never know. Actually, my husband went through that. To be honest, when she was speaking, I was laughing inside because it wasn't funny then, but it's funny now. When he was interviewing, because he was out of work for a long time, and there was this particular company that just kept going back over and over again. And he said, I can't believe it. And I'm sending my codes, because he's an engineer, and they're looking at my codes and coming back again and asking for more. So he was also like concerned, but at the end they did hire him, right? So you just never know if they're trying to take your talent from you and steal from your intellectual property, or are they really being genuine to know if you fit what they're trying to get, right? You just don't know. You just pray and hope and keep your fingers crossed that they're not trying to scam you. And but oh my God, that's so sad. But it's where we find ourselves right now.
What is the world coming to when you can't even look for a job without being scammed? And they're scamming in all different kinds of ways, right? There's the scams where I'm hearing nowadays people are being called out to interviews and there's no building there. It's not the right address. Our producer was talking about somebody getting into a car. They're scamming all across the employment thing. My son is 25 and I still be like, who's the interview with? Where is it at? Did you look up the location? Because folks is out here playing in your face. And so we're going to look at a video that has 3 ways to know if it's fake. And we'll be right back.
You ever hear of a fake interview? A fake interview is an interview that employers schedule to waste your time. And that's because they already know who they're going to hire for the position that you're actually interviewing for. And they do this because, according to policy, they have to demonstrate that they have interviewed several people for one position before they insert someone. You're not sure if you attended a fake interview? Well, I'm going to give you 3 signs. The first sign is you may have filled out an application or submitted a resume for a position some time ago and you hadn't heard anything. All of a sudden, you get a call from the company and they're trying to rush you in. Hey, can you meet tomorrow at 5 o'clock or tomorrow at 3 o'clock, or are you available tomorrow? They're trying to get you in a hurry. That's because they already filled the position. It's probably about to close, but they have to show that they have interviewed more than one candidate. I've seen that happen more than one time in my career. The second sign is you'll get called in for an interview with the hiring manager and maybe someone from the team. And they'll throw 3 softball questions at you, right? And they'll be open-ended and you'll answer them. It'll probably take 10 to 15 minutes. And then after that, they'll thank you for your time and tell you they'll be in touch. But they never get back to you and they ghost you. The third sign is you'll get called in for an interview with the hiring manager and somebody from the team, or just the hiring manager. And what they'll do is basically change the requirements of the position that you applied for right in front of your face. And of course, the requirements that have changed with the position are probably the requirements that attracted you to the position. For instance, if you applied for a remote job and you get on site to the interview and they tell you, well, now switch to 4 days a week on site in 1 remote day, you're going to be turned off and probably say, well, never mind, thanks, but no thanks. And that's the idea, because they've already picked somebody for the position.
Man, that is crazy. The thought process that has to go into doing that.
Crazy.
What we call shenanigans.
Like mental Olympics.
I'm serious. Like, wow.
Gosh. Dr. Alicia, what kind of mental capacity? We kind of talked about it a little bit, but I want to change the question a little bit. being rejected multiple times while looking for work. What does that do to a person?
I mean, I think that if you go up for a job and you're not considered for that position, I don't believe, no one's going to really be honest with you and say your attire was unprofessional. You need to beef up this, then no one's going to really tell you this. So you really need to network. You really need to get to know people on more of an impersonal level, because if it's rejection for you, you always have to deconstruct how much of it is the system and how much of it is me. And the system you can't control. Maybe there's some things you can do. Like I'm just reminded of, this next week I'm going to the Power Networking Conference with Dr. Frazier. You need to network with these companies to get the unspoken. It's not going to be posted. The unposted version. What's going on with this job? Call your contacts. So it's great to just be able to just know people who work in companies who you can just network with. So hopefully you spend time in college and you spend time kind of going to job fairs or whatever, and just getting to know people in your industry and in your field, where you can reach out to them and say, what's going on at this company? What's happening here? Oh no, you need to keep in mind. Oh no, don't even waste your time with that. They already know who they're going to pick, who they're going to get for this position. Like you need to have like an inside scoop. So just networking is always important. But at the same time, you spend so much money getting a degree from a 4-year institution. Do you know, as alumni, you can always use their career services department is always there for you as an alumni. You didn't pay for these people. You might as well go back and use them. And then they will look at your resume. They will do mock interviews. They will be able to tell you how you come across to people, because a lot of people don't know this, and they need to have this feedback so that they can put their best foot forward and develop themselves professionally. You always need to be thinking about that. But also in terms of systemic things like Fargo, if you knew somebody on the inside who already works there, they can tell you like, man, I'm trying to leave this place. These white people got their foot on our necks in here. Like, this is terrible. The climate is terrible. So the reputation of you precedes itself, but the reputation of this company precedes itself. So there's some strategic things that you need to do. Unfortunately, it's not just about the skills, but it's also about workplace culture. And just having that, workplace trauma, is racialized in a lot of different ways. And, it's terrible. You bring that with you. You bring those stories with you into your other positions. So, yeah.
Okay. When you think about going to get a job, looking for employment, there's scams out there, there's discrimination, there's fake application. Now the application is real, but the hiring process is fake, right? And as a Black person, you still have to keep going out, right? You don't really know. She did a good job with those red flags, right? But you don't really know if you're going for a real position or not. You're showing up, you're looking around, you see a couple other Black folks. Shalaye, how can we make sure that Black talent is properly valued and paid when they do show up? So before showing up for an interview, I guess a little bit of what Dr. Alicia said, maybe it might be reaching out to somebody, but you don't necessarily know someone. Mm-hmm. What can we do to make sure that Black talent is properly valued? So when they take their time, their energy, their efforts, they show up. Let's say they do actually get an offer, but it's below what they're worth, or it was supposed to be hybrid, but now it's remote, or they're playing these shenanigans. What do you do? How do we make sure that the value is there and the money is there?
Yeah. So a couple things. Just thinking back to whenever it's been a long time since I've interviewed for a job. Okay. But thinking back, even when I'm interviewing clients for my business, right? I want my clients to be interested in me. So I'm asking them a lot of questions, but I do want them to ask me questions because I want them to know if they want to work with me too. I never really went on an interview that I didn't get offered the job too, right? And I would show up prepared I would position myself prepared to ask them questions, whether that's questions about the job, whether that's questions about the company, but also I want them to know I'm here interviewing you too. I always showed up with that aura about me, that I don't need this job. I don't go in there desperate. And I show up very professional, make sure that you know your stuff, you know your strengths and weaknesses, make sure that you are asking questions. Make sure before you even go on the interview, you can ask them about the salary. What is the salary range? And I've seen people get kind of swindled with this too. They'll tell you a salary range and then you show up and they say, oh, well, it's going to be this. And it's like always the lower end of the salary. You can go ahead and, put forth like, hey, this is my salary expectation. But I would say show up confident. There's no real way to guarantee because you don't know what that person's objective is. You really don't. But you can show up confidently. You can have your questions ready. You can interview them. You can know your stuff and know your strengths and weaknesses, and you can make it known what your salary expectation is. Also, I think the number one thing, I think this proves why entrepreneurship in the Black community is so important. Because even if you have a company or a business that you just started, having something that where you have a backup, so you're not economically just floored and out of the game if you don't get this job is really important.
Okay. Aisha, what do you, we talked a little bit about network, right? People around you, maybe being able to ask someone or having a friend of a friend that worked there, or how you go in and ask questions, maybe you're introduced. How can we build our network, right, to fight back against exclusion so that when we go into these positions or we're looking for a job or we're trying to make sure we're not being scammed or being taken advantage of, I don't want to say we have an inside track, but let's just say, how can we build our network?
Yes. I love what Lady said about, first of all, you want to be prepared. You want to be prepared so that if you want a particular position and you're ready for it, you look at your network. Is that whatever, alumni from school or your fraternity, sorority, all those group of people that you want to tap them based on your expertise and what you know, right? Saying, tell them, hey, this is what I'm doing. That way they can look around because their network now is stretched more than yours, right? So they can now say, oh, you know what? Yeah, I worked here, or somebody that I know worked here, and it's this. So we do need each other. At the end of the day, we do need each other. But I also think that entrepreneurship, where we work together collectively, because we all have different talents, right? If there's a place we can all plug in and work together, so that way, if one of us needs something, we can literally work together to make that person succeed. It's so powerful. I've seen it happen in other communities so much that I feel we're not doing it enough. So if we have this network of people that are professionals, we should come together and figure out how can we, with our talent, say, okay, this is what we know. And then if one of us need help, we can all rally around that person and make sure that they succeed so that we can become powerful as a collective instead of just one person doing well, other person. Like Dr. Boy is a great example of that. He is an expert in his space, but he is so generous, bringing other people in that are good to shine light on them. And then now collectively we're doing something. It doesn't have to be with finance, but we're doing something. So I think if we keep doing that, even in small groups, that will really help us. And then we'll have more power because we understand each other, we care for each other, and we can all grow and rise together. Really, we have to do that.
All right, awesome. All right, let's look at our stats and see what the stats is talking about. Wells Fargo's $85 million payout follows previous allegations of discrimination in hiring and lending. A 2023 Glassdoor survey found that 33% of Black employees believe their company's diversity efforts are performative. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission reports that race-based workplace discrimination complaints have gone up by 12% in the last 2 years. I would be interested to know what that looks like in the last 6 months. And then how much of that 12% has to do with the last 6 months, right? Man, let's go to commercial. We're going to come back and talk about these stats. Let's go to commercial. And we'll come back and talk about these stats.
Are you a Black business owner looking to expand your reach? Well, has Fly Nubian Money got good news for you? We are building a Black business directory to connect you with customers who need your services. And here is the best part. It is absolutely free. Email us at info@realvirtual.net. Send us your business name. Tell us a little bit about what you do, what services you offer, your website address, and your contact information. That's it. Together, we are going to build and circulate the Black dollar. Get listed today and start connecting with people who are probably already looking for you.
So let's talk about something terrifying that I just saw on social media that just happened in Kentucky. So a teenager went to a job interview that he found on Indeed. The address didn't match any real business, and it led him and his mom to a Starbucks. So when he texted this employer, the reply was basically, "I'm in a gray car off to the side. Come in and we'll do the interview here." That's not an interview. That's a setup. So his mom was with him. She saw the red flag immediately and told him to block. But imagine if he'd gone alone. So here are the red flags you absolutely need to know, especially in this climate. Job listings with addresses that don't match a real company or even a building. Employers asking to meet in parking lots, cars, or anywhere outside of a legitimate business. Being told to come alone or being discouraged from bringing a parent or friend, especially if you're under the age of 21. No company email, no website, no verifiable phone number, and then offers that feel too good to be true with vague job descriptions. Especially in this job market, scammers are targeting young people who are eager to work, and even people are being kidnapped. So parents, go with your kids to interviews. Teens, if something feels sketchy, it probably is. A real employer will not meet you in their car. Stay safe, double check addresses, and trust your gut. This isn't just about jobs, it's about safety and survival.
Deborah said in NYC, this happens a lot. That is sad. Do you guys think, and anyone can have this one, do you guys think that there should be harsher penalties and or legal parameters for fake employment practices?
Absolutely. It's a scam.
Yes,
This should be against the law. I don't understand why, it shouldn't be a conversation. It should just be like, this doesn't happen.
And I wonder if Indeed can do something with that. Like if you could verify, every time I try to sign up my business up with something, I have to do a verification that I'm a legitimate business. I mean, that needs to happen. Indeed needs to hold, you can't just open it up for everybody to just post any and everything. If I was the executive of Indeed, I would feel partially responsible for that and put something in place. We got to regulate things here.
Right.
It's sad that that's the world that we live in. I'll tell y'all a story. I'll be definitely overindulging and telling too much of my business on this.
Well, come on.
Podcast. But, I was probably 19, maybe 20 years old. And maybe 20. Let's say I was under 21. Let's say I was under 21. I know that. And I saw this ad in the paper. That's tell you how long ago it was in the paper. And it talked about, I think it was something I had to get my passport and I was going to go overseas to do some type of work. I can't remember what it was, but it was so interesting. I'm young, and it was like if you didn't decide to go to college and you want to explore employment opportunities and you're looking for some experience, you can come over here. It was like China, Japan, Singapore, something like that. And I was like, oh my God, I'm about to go across the country, across the world and learn and get some experience. My mom was like, hell no. I got my passport and everything, y'all. I mean, because I'm living on my own, so I'm talking to the people and whatnot, and I got my passport. And I finally tell my mom, I'm like, yo, I have this opportunity to go to. I cannot even remember where it was at. I got my passport. They're gonna fly me over there, and I'm gonna get some work experience. And she was like, hell no. And I did not go. And when I look back on that, I'm like, damn, you were dumb. As a whole parent, I'm like, you is dumb. Who gets on a plane to fly across the world to somebody you don't know? Girl, yeah, it's just dumb. And that was back then. I can't even imagine what they do it today. Thank the Lord. My mom was like, no, ma'am, we're not doing that. Okay, so let's do, I'll ask y'all this. With what's happening in employment discrimination, DEI, and fake accounts, fake employers, scammers, what message should we be sending or telling our children or young Black professionals who are entering the workforce? And I'll let everyone have a little bit of this because I think we might have different ideas and perspectives. What message should we send to young Black professionals entering the workforce in lieu of everything that's happening in the employment market? Aisha, we'll start with you.
That's a great question. I was just thinking about that when the last video was being played, because my son is in college and he worked before. He's not looking for another place to work. And I've just gained new insight on what to tell him as well for red flags. So now it means you have to go back and talk with him about red flags and the preparedness. When you're going to an interview, make sure you do your research, check that this is real, that this is really happening. And if you have your friends, because I know now you kind of get into a fraternity, if they know people that know people, talk to them and see if this is real, get some kind of confirmation. And then, when you go out there, be prepared. Like Shalaye said, be prepared. Know the stats that you're facing. So if they ask you questions, you know what you're also going to ask them back. So it doesn't seem as if it's only one-sided. Make sure you're prepared for that. And more importantly, go there knowing that if somebody is doing something that your gut tells you it doesn't feel right, believe it. Don't try to walk around it because you're young. Make sure that your gut feeling, you follow your gut feeling. But at the end of the day, go with your head straight up and again, ask your friend so that way it's legit, but do your behind the scenes work. And if you need our help to be there as a support system, maybe in the car waiting for you, let us know. We'll be there for you. To me, I think that's what we should do for the young people, because they need that support to know that they're not alone, because there's so much happening right now. Just today's show has even opened my eyes as a mom, because I've not been in the job market for so many years. So I just like, wow, this is actually still happening. This is crazy. So I want to make sure that I take what I've learned today and actually talk to him. Like right after we get off the phone, this podcast, I am going to talk to him, because he's looking for work, even though he's in college, and I want to make sure that he's prepared. And we always want to put our best foot forward, period. It doesn't matter who we are, so that we can live with our head high, that we went there prepared, so that if they don't pick us, it's their loss.
Awesome. What about you, Shalaye? Do you have anything to add to that?
Yes, I would say the number one thing, I've learned a lot from this show. I didn't know that this is rampant like this, and all of the dangers and, just economic dangers and real dangers. Having two young girls. Well, first of all, I'll talk about young people who are going into the job market. Since we know the people out here fake interviewing, I would say the number one thing I would do, my mother always said, put it in black and white. I would email them and I would have them confirm to me that that job is available right now. And then if they get back to you and say yes, and then to find out it's a fake thing, then you definitely have a lawsuit. That's the number one thing I would do. Number two, just thinking about my girls being young and everything, like Aisha said, let your parents in on it. Let your parents help you with these job searches, or a trusted adult, or a trusted adult who's older than you, because you may be in your early 20s. But when we're young, we're naive to certain things because we haven't been exposed to it. We don't know. So certain things that may be sketchy, you may feel like, oh, well, that's probably normal, right? Because we don't know. So I would say let your parents support you, or a trusted mentor support you. And then also, I didn't know that people were doing things with companies and you don't have addresses and stuff like that, meeting people in parking lots. We don't meet people in parking lots. Research and verify the information of the company. Make sure they're a real company. Make sure the person that you're talking to, look them up on LinkedIn. Make sure they're a real person. I would have probably a list of 10 things create a list of 10 things. Those 3 should be on it, but to safeguard yourself and to prevent people from wasting your time and your money and your energy.
I like that. What about you, Dr. Alicia? What would you tell the youth or young professional?
Okay, the youth. Are we talking about Gen Zs?
Yeah,
Because
whoever you want to talk to.
let me just tell you. Okay, I agree with everybody, but I'm gonna add to this discussion because, by the way, I have a son who's 22 and my daughter is 18. And my daughter is a CNA. She got her CNA license in high school, so she can work in between semesters. And my son, he works at IT at my institution. And let me tell you, both of them used to work for me and Dr. Boyce. And I have fired both of them. I have fired them several times. Never to be behind. No, let me just say, y'all Gen Zs really need to amp up your professionalism. It's a boy, oh boy. I don't even want to go into some of the stories, but and I know it's a dynamic there because they are our children and they work for us. So that's a dynamic. And what do I want to say to all of that? I want to say all of that is that employers feel scammed by some of these people. And I know people who work in corporate who are supervising these Gen Zs in corporate settings and have to be client faced, and they are complaining. They're saying complaining about little things like, I don't want to go back to that client site. Well, why? Because I don't like the vibe over there. It's like things like that. So Gen Zs, maybe that's another show. Gen Zs are being fired left and right. I was talking to my daughter. We were going downtown Chicago, and I said, oh, I used to work in that Miles Vanderrohe building. I used to work there as a network analyst. And she was like, oh, I would never work there. And I said, why? She said, I don't like the way the building looks. The outside of the building. I'm like, girl, that had nothing to do with nothing. That place paid me good money at one point. So it's just like, I don't know. It's sign of the times, everybody. We all need to be held to some sort of checks and balances need to be here. We've got to amp up our professionalism, honesty, trust, all of these things. We need to do a better job. I am working with my 2 children, about my 2 oldest kids, about being professional, having a legitimate gripe and being able to articulate that in a way that's professional, putting yourself in the shoes of your employer. What are they going through? How do they see you? It's just this smartness that can't be ascertained from a resume so much. It's your interpersonal skills. It's stepping outside of your comfort zone, which is very difficult for a lot of young people to do because you can streamline all of your media to fit your comfort. And so you don't have this ability to step outside of that. There's so many different things. And I really hate that. I don't want young people to go out being scared and hypervigilant and thinking, oh my God, is this company really interested in me? Or are they just trying to use me? Maybe they are really interested in you. Maybe they really are picking ideas out of your brain because they want to know how you're going to respond in these ways. And, it's terrible to give corporations a false hope. It's terrible for corporations to exploit the neediness of employers. It's like there's so many people. I just looked here. There's 1 million people right now that are now out of work because since Donald Trump's been in office. Yes, we got to talk about the macro, the politics of it all. And so what is that going to mean? It's going to mean employers have the advantage. So, it's very dynamic today.
All right. So I'm going to let you guys each give your contact details. We're going to use that question as our final thought. But what I would say, even before professionalism, is know that there's a job there. Right? Do your checks and balance to make sure, like what Shalaye said, that the position is still available. If you feel uneasy or that something is off, ask for help and assistance. If you're not sure on how to present yourself, ask for help. The one thing that I think the young people are doing right now, that is putting them in in unsafe environments with everything that's happening and everything that's going on in the world is not having the proper acumen. So not even knowing what red flags to look for, not even knowing what to ask for, not even knowing how to properly answer the questions, right? So if we're looking at the landscape of fake interviews, discrimination of hiring practices, those are the things that I would tell someone to do. Because even if you're professional and even if you have good work ethic, and if the job ain't real, it don't matter, right? So there's this, make sure that you're putting your energy and efforts in the right place so that you're not mentally drained, so that you don't start to give up, so that you don't start to feel like it's you. It's these people out here. What did Kamala Harris says? These motherfuckers is crazy. That's what she said. And she's like, they want us to think that we crazy. Know that who you're showing up for, the position, the job, the role, that it's real. Okay. And so really quickly, everybody give your contact details where somebody can find you. Aisha, we'll start with you.
Thank you so much. You can find me at the Black Business School and also www.aishaverzi.com. If you need any help with insurance, hit me up. Thank you.
Awesome. Shalaye?
Yes, guys, if you need any assistance buying or selling real estate anywhere in the United States or Canada, hit me up. I would love to help you. You can visit my website at vitalsourcerealty.com. You can also DM me on Instagram at Shalaye Camillo.
Awesome sauce. Dr. Alicia?
Hey, everybody. Follow me, Instagram, TikTok, at Coaching with Dr. Alicia. And all the best to everybody out there.
I love it. I'm Dr. LaNee Javette. You can find me at I am Dr. LaNee Javette. Oh, right there. There you go. So this was a great conversation. We even the chat, you guys went ham in the chat. You guys talked about how great this conversation was and how timely it was. So we appreciate you and thank you for being here. This story is a reminder that diversity without integrity is just performance. If companies want our trust, they have to do more than post statements and hold fake interviews. They have to hire us, promote us, and pay us fairly. It's time to stop begging for a seat at the table and start building our own tables, our own companies, and our own wealth systems that value our brilliance. I love that word, brilliance. And thank you so much for being here today. This is Fly Nubian Money. We will see you guys tomorrow. Go out, continue to be blessed, stay black, and be one. We'll see you next time.
Wells Fargo rather pay $85 million than hire diverse talent. Wells Fargo, you should be ashamed of yourself. They basically was sued because what they was doing was getting people to come in to interview for fake jobs. The positions were already filled, and these candidates were either females or from a culturally diverse background. The reason why they continued on with the interview and brought in people to interview for fake jobs is because they had to do this to meet their diversity goals, to make it look like the company was being inclusive, but they were not. A judge ordered them to pay $85 million to their victims and stated that these hiring practices were not only discriminatory, but also misleading. You think? Could you imagine being called back for an interview at Wells Fargo when after you've been sitting home unemployed all this time, the interview go well and then you never hear from them because they already had somebody working in their job? Disgusting. And it actually makes me think, what other companies are probably doing this?